Cody Rhodes, is he hinting at turning heel? But before we get to that, I'm Rob, the wrestling old head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling, all the time, the wrestling community for you. Now, Cody Rhodes, was he hinting at turning heel? Let's talk about it. A heel in professional wrestling, for those that are not inclined, there's a heel and there's a baby face, okay? A heel in professional wrestling refers to a wrestler who portrays a villainous or antagonistic character. They are often pitted against the babyface or the heroic protagonist of the story. The heel's primary goal is to generate heat or negative reactions from the audience, which in turn helps to build excitement and engagement and gives people an opportunity to cheer their fan favorite. You got heroes like Hercules, the Incredible Hulk, X-Men, Spider-Man, Superman, and for every one of those heroes, you need a villain, aka a heel. Great examples of this. Hulk Hogan in 1997 turned heel in WCW. It's the most famous example of what was perceived as a lifetime babyface in Hulk Hogan turning against the fans. But long after the fans, or most fans anyway, had already turned against him. His time in the spotlight, his time as the red and yellow, say your prayers and your vitamins, dude, Hulkamania, brother, that had run out, and the fans were not as into it as they were in the the early 90s. So Hogan turning heel, it kind of reinvigorated a new love for Hulk Hogan. Now, he was getting booed, he was getting jeered, but there was a cool factor to Hulk Hogan that was long lost. And this kind of reignited fans' love. There was a large portion of the audience that was actually into Hogan for having turned heel. And that type of attitude followed wrestling fans that were inclined, that were on websites, that were looking at the dirt sheets, that were studying, that were looking behind the curtain. They started liking the heel if the heel acted cool. So looking at guys like MJF, for an example, would be a great one. MJF, always the asshole, right? Came out smug, scarf, Burberry, whatever, But the fans, they generated a love for MJF so much that they had to turn MJF into a fan favorite because the cheers that he was getting, it no longer helped the person across from him in the ring get cheers. It actually helped the person across from him get boos. Roman Reigns is another great example to a degree. He started getting reactions the more he embraced his role. Roman Reigns was shoved in our faces with this idea of being the heir apparent to John Cena as the cliche bad one-liner face for the WWE. And the moment he did what John Cena would not do, which is turn heel, the crowd started to praise his head of the table character, albeit in small doses. It grew and grew over the years, and now we're expecting Roman Reigns to return to the biggest reaction of his entire career going against the new bloodline. Can you imagine that? So it's the art of the heel in 2024. It requires a bit of a meta approach because fans are looking to cheer the cool guy, the it guy, and if the heel exudes any of those qualities, it could backfire and be bad for whoever stands across the ring from the heel that everyone loves to hate. So I got this quote from Cody Rhodes on comicbook.com, and it's about heel. And it goes like this. He says, and I quote, "There is beauty if you can commit to being a bad guy. It's a unique space creatively. You have to be really vulnerable, open and blood hungry in terms of how you are on the microphone. There's a growing section of fans that want to see that happen for me at some point," he says. "If you're really wishing for that, it's scorched earth." Then you might be, we don't like that. You have to be really scorched earth. And in 2024, that is hard for anyone to understand. You're not meant to be cool. You're not meant to be the next Rock. You're meant to be a bad guy. And I get where he's coming from when he says that. In today's age of professional wrestling, it has become an art form to outwit and outsmart the fans who are looking to push against what is shoved in front of them. They make the decisions. No longer is it creative or the executives or writers or even the wrestlers to choose where they are designated on the heel or face divide, what line they choose to get to. It is the fans. They make that decision. There are outliers like Dominic Mysterio, who fans love to hate and has not gotten cheers. In fact, his boos have only increased and gotten exponentially louder because that is the it thing to do. So he can't even really cut a promo, which could help or hurt him depending on his trajectory and how he's going to grow as a performer. And then there's even Sammy Guevara, who has had face turn after heel turn after face turn after heel turn after face turn after heel turn because they can't figure out what the crowd is going to react to on a given basis. I mean, we're not all tribal in the sense of like if somebody boos a guy in Chicago, he might get cheered in New York. And so it's really hard to gauge. So I understand where Cody Rhodes is coming from in this regard. It isn't as easy as it was in the 80s or the 90s or even the early aughts to get a reaction from the crowd as a heel. JBL was probably one of the last great heels in the WWE. Everybody loved to hate him, and there was no question there was going to be no face cheer reaction when he came out. He was really good at being hated. In 2024, you have to be a little more cerebral. It's not just, I'm not going to do my move. You legitimately have to be loathed by the audience. And if you can do that statewide, state to state, country to country, then you got something. But like I said, it's very rare nowadays to do something like that. And off the top of my head, other than guys like Austin Theory or Grayson Waller, it's really hard. I mean, look, we're in 2024 and The Miz is getting a huge pop, okay? The Miz. So it's like an alternate universe here. People that are normally hated are going to get cheered. People that are normally cheered or thought of to be fan favorites are going to get booed. And it can happen by just a simple catchphrase or theme song or cool or it factor. And it's really hard to gauge. So even though he might be, a lot of people I've seen believe that Cody Rhodes is thinking too deep about this and he just needs to come out and be a heel, it's not about that. If the crowd starts to turn on Cody Rhodes, he's going to find himself in an interesting position, just like he found in AEW when a majority of the crowd was turning against him. He stuck with being a face because he knew if he were going to turn heel, then the crowd would still cheer him and he'd be stuck in a rock and a hard place of like, I need to be an asshole, but I can't because the crowd loves me. It's a really interesting position to be in. I don't know if John Cena understood the nuances of staying face amongst the fans chanting that he sucks and booing him as he grabbed the microphone to open up WWE Raw, but he definitely understood something, and he was on the forefront of understanding that, in which we're living in right now in the current climate of professional wrestling, where if you are cool, you will be cheered, and it doesn't matter if you're an asshole or not. So what do you think? Is Cody Rhodes right about this? Is he on to something here? And what approach would he have to take in order to fully be a heel? I think he could be a great politician, and I think if he starts promising things and being condescending, then he could get the crowd to boo him pretty heavily. I think Cody Rhodes has an asshole in him. I think he has a real cocky, smug demeanor, and if he plays it a certain way, it could work perfectly. He's already got the suits. He's already got that type of an attitude. He comes out. He's got the bleach blonde hair. I mean, it's Ric Flair. He's giving that feeling of Ric Flair. I don't get that feeling of like, I'm a working man. I'm Dusty Rhodes. No, his nickname is the American Nightmare. He's already there. But when he fully embraces it, just as he says, it's going to be scorched earth, motherfucker. Like, Tom. Oh, I almost said it. What is that from? What is that from? Scorched earth, motherfucker. If you can tell me in the comments, let me know what movie that's from. I might have already given it away, but hopefully I edit this so you don't even know that I gave that away with a name. So, do you think Cody Rhodes could be a heel going forward? How long do you think it takes to get there? 5 years, 10 years? Does it happen in 2 or 3? You guys let me know in the comments. Thumbs up on the way out. Thanks again to everybody for subscribing, growing this community the way that it has. I can't thank you guys enough. Stay tuned for up-to-date information and breaking news for not only just my opinions on pro wrestling and bringing out things from the past, the present, and the future, but even special announcements. So make sure that you hit that notifications button, because as we grow, there's going to be a lot more news in regards to this channel and where we may go next. So stick around for that. Guys, as always, wrestling fans, you try and stay united, and I'll talk to you real soon. See ya.